Good morning. It is Tuesday, August 31st. I'm Shane Seeley, and this is the CBC Morning Report. Now, the Morning Report is today revealing more data, this time on how Barbadians actually feel about getting a COVID-19 vaccine. We're learning that surveys actually show most Barbadians are not vaccine hesitant as initially thought. Senior lecturer in epidemiology at the UWI Cave Hill, Dr. Natasha Sobers, has been sharing the details from two surveys done recently, which indicate that up to 70% of Barbadians are actually in favor of getting a vaccine. But she says this needs to translate to shots in arms.
Most of these surveys show that at least 50–60% of people are not hesitant, are ready to take the vaccine. And we haven't reached those numbers yet. So let's vaccinate all the people who want to get vaccinated. Some of these surveys show as much as 70% in Barbados want to get vaccinated. So let's focus on that and focus on getting the vaccines into vaccinations and into arms. And then we can sort of have focus groups and understandings for those people who are vaccine hesitant. Because I think that these vaccine wars cause us to forget that we are fighting a common enemy. We're not fighting each other. Everybody started to think, oh, I'm against you and you're against me. And that's really not what it's about. We have a common enemy, and it's COVID-19. It's not you, it's not the vaccine. So we also need to throw away some of these ideas that somebody's out to get us, and actually start looking for the truth. So first, get the vaccines to become vaccinations and into arms, because there's still quite a few Barbadians who want it. Most of the surveys show that people are ready to have it.
Dr. Sobers, who is also a member of the Barbados Association of Medical Practitioners COVID-19 Task Force, has been, as I explained, quoting figures from two surveys. One of them done by CARPHA, the Caribbean Public Health Agency, on the COVID-19 vaccine acceptance among active social media users in the Caribbean. Barbados, Curacao, Guyana, Jamaica, St. Lucia, and Trinidad and Tobago were cited in the findings. And in the survey, there was a 74% acceptance, as you can see here, of the COVID-19 vaccine. 15% were undecided, and non-acceptance accounted for 11%. However, another study done recently on Jamaica and in Trinidad and Tobago by Johns Hopkins Center for Communication Programs reported that about 72% of Jamaicans and 59% of people in TNT would not accept a vaccine if made available to them. In both countries, you would see that there has been a high level of vaccine hesitancy, and healthcare systems in both CARICOM states are under severe pressure, with many hospitals there out of bed space. Dr. Sobers believes Barbados could very soon see a dramatic rise in hospitalizations linked to the current surge in COVID-19 cases.
I think that if we see an increase in cases, even if we're managing to decrease the numbers of cases with our 35%, we're going to see an increase in number of hospitalizations. There's no doubt about it. As you rightly pointed out, 35% sounds good for the region, but it is nowhere near where we need to be. Remember, for a Delta, we're thinking to stop a real outbreak with Delta, we need 90%. Those are the numbers we're talking about, and we're at 35. So we definitely have a long way to go in terms of the vaccination, but the longest journey starts with a small step. So that's why we're thinking our next goal has to be 50%. We have to get to that 50% mark.
Now, while the Barbados Association of Medical Practitioners is pleased with the recent positive response to the national vaccination program, the president, Dr. Linda Williams, says too many people remain undecided. This is a concern, as she believes this will be an issue for getting ahead of the fast-spreading Delta variant.
For those people who are not sure, we need to have a discussion as soon as possible. And there are people who have just recently changed their minds as well and have gone out and taken the vaccine. So the uptake is definitely increasing significantly. And people are going for all three vaccines, Sinopharm, Pfizer and AstraZeneca. So it is encouraging to see the numbers that are coming out, but we need to sustain this. And as I said, these are people, a lot of people who are getting their first vaccine only. So we have to sort of, it's a race almost. We're trying to get ahead of the variant spreading, and that's going to take a little time. And so that's why in this crucial period of time, we have to be very circumspect in what we do.
The death toll from COVID-19 in Barbados reaches the 50 mark. We'll talk about that and what the Chief Medical Officer has to say about the recent rise in cases after the break. Leading our COVID-19 updates, Barbados health authorities have confirmed another COVID-19 death. The Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Kenneth George, spoke to CBC about the 50th recorded fatality.
The Ministry of Health learned that we had a death in a 44-year-old male who was in Harrison's Point for about 17 days, was critically ill for about 9 to 10 days, and he was on the ventilator for a period of time. This is a very unfortunate situation, and obviously I would like to extend condolences to his family and his friends. This individual was unvaccinated, similar to the other individual who died the day before.
Dr. George says Barbadians must understand the Delta variant is here and the virus is spreading in our communities and business places. He notes in many instances, though, businesses are still not getting it right.
If you're going to have in a business 9, 10 people in one business turning up positive, obviously the infection prevention and control measures in that business are lacking. We are going to get worse if persons don't adhere. I have a challenge where the protocols are out there, people are given good information, and the feeling is that COVID will not come knocking on your doorstep. We need to be doing better as a country, and all we are asking is the persons to take simple measures. That's all we are asking. All persons outside the persons in churches, large business houses, and even within extended families, that they need to be on their guard, and frequently when infection occurs, it is being transmitted to several persons within the community.
Along with the COVID-19 death toll reaching the 50 mark, there were 37 new cases of COVID-19, 16 males and 21 females in that number. The results were as a result of tests done by the Best Dos Santos Public Health Laboratory on Sunday. The 37 new positives comprise 9 people who are under the age of 18. There were 983 tests conducted, and there are currently 292 people in isolation. Since March last year, confirmed COVID-19 cases have reached 4,968. Meanwhile, the national vaccination program continues to roll on and has seen 108,702 people receive first doses of the COVID-19 vaccine. Additionally, 94,063 people, or 34.7% of the population, are now fully vaccinated. Let's go further afield now. The World Health Organization is warning that another 236,000 people could die from COVID-19 in Europe for the rest of the year. More in this report.
The dire projection follows an 11% increase in deaths across the region this past week. Infection rates have been rising across the EU. The WHO blames the highly infectious Delta variant, easing of restrictions and summer travel. It says the region's poorer nations, including the Balkans and Caucasus, are experiencing the highest rise in new cases. An estimated 1.3 million people across Europe have died from COVID-19. Hans Kluger is the regional director for the WHO Europe. He says the EU has learned some valuable lessons since the pandemic began, but must do more to tackle rising infections.
The main challenge is some countries still lack access to vaccines, and other countries which do have vaccines, we see a plateauing of the vaccine uptake. So a priority is to reduce the vaccine hesitancy. So we need to understand the perceptions of the people and address their concerns, including concerns about vaccine hesitancy. It's a whole range of reasons. There is still an issue with production, an issue with access, and an issue of uptake. So what we have to do is drastically boost equitable rollout of the vaccinations and work very hard with the communities to decrease the hesitancy, and if need be, as a number of countries have been doing, considering mandatory vaccinations in some professions and population groups which are most exposed. I think by all means we have to avoid lockdowns, and it shouldn't be necessary. Maybe some local lockdowns, but we know what has to be done. The vaccines and the masks is very important, and we have seen a number of countries which declared too soon the pandemic over when it was just a wave which was passing. So even in times of tranquility, we need to keep pressure on the virus by masks, by some control of mobility, ventilation, and very important in September now is to keep the schools open.
Meanwhile, the European Union has deemed the United States as an unsafe destination to travel to as COVID numbers continue to rise.
The US has been removed from the European Union's list of safe countries as COVID-19 cases there continue to rise. The EU is also recommending a pause on all non-essential travel from America. Daily hospital admissions in the US have risen past 100,000 for the first time since last winter. Infections are soaring in part due to the Delta variant. The EU lifted travel restrictions on American travelers in June.
The Delta variant and vaccination dominating the news this morning. Let's hear from Pearson now to see what's happening on the Tuesday edition of Mornin Barbados.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Shane. Well, coming up this morning, what do you know about the Errol and Barrow Educational Trust? So we'll take a look at that just ahead of the awardees function this upcoming Thursday. Today, we'll also meet a couple Bajans afar, one who is in Hawaii, the next in Vietnam. What are they doing there? And just how are they being best Bajans in those particular locales? And also, before the show is done, we'll share with you what you should know about home valuations in our real estate segment with Agent Sharita. Just a little bit of what you can expect when you join me here on Morning Barbados. It's back to you, Shane.
Thank you, Pearson. And we're hearing about people trying to trick the system as far as the national vaccination program is concerned. We'll share the details of that story and more when we return. Government's Clean and Green program has reached St. Thomas. The Minister of the Environment and National Beautification, Adrian Ford, has called on residents there to play their part and to assist the national effort. More from Trevor Thorpe.
Minister of the Environment and National Beautification, Adrian Ford, said it's a defining moment for St. Thomas, as the parish is an important cog in the Clean and Green initiative. And while addressing the Clean and Green campaign in Edgehill, St. Thomas, he noted that as part of its global mandate, Barbados aims to reduce its fossil fuel and carbon dioxide emissions by 2035. He said Barbados has also made its national determination ahead of the United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP26, the Conference of Parties 26, in Glasgow, Scotland, later this year.
We have said to the rest of the world that little Barbados, as we are known, that we are going to, by 2035 at most, reduce our fossil fuels and our carbon dioxide emission by less than 100,000 tons or so. Right now, we emit about 2 million tons yearly. And we are saying that, and thanks, and I want to pay homage to those in the Ministry of Energy for what they are doing.
The Environment and National Beautification Minister also pointed to the assistance his ministry is getting from 2 other ministries.
What the minister is doing, the Minister of Transport and Works, by having those electrical vehicles, again, reducing our fossil fuel and our dependency on fossil fuel and damage to the environment. What we are doing in the agriculture industry as it relates to pesticides and all those harmful organic compounds that destroy the ozone layer, which protects our unborn child.
Member of Parliament for St. Thomas, Cynthia Ford, while thanking her parliamentary colleague and the teams involved, told the gathering the initiative is far-reaching as it will embrace everyone.
There's a little 4-H club at Sharon. There's one at Holy Innocents. Those little environmental clubs can come here, walk from the school as they did in my time, come through the back, and come here and witness and play in a safe space, acknowledging that they are a part of the community.
Trevor Thorpe, CBC News.
Some fully vaccinated individuals have been trying to trick the system to get a third COVID-19 shot. This revelation from the co-coordinator of the National Vaccination Program, Major David Clark. He says there have been a few cases where people have actually received a third dose, but he insists measures have been put in place to curb future attempts at working around the system.
Normally when you come and you register, we get your national ID number. Some people are coming and they would actually say they've not been vaccinated, and once we enter it in the system, we see that they've been fully vaccinated. And that has happened from the first day we started. We had quite a lot of people trying to go around the system. 1 or 2 did slip through because they may have used different IDs, but we have actually tightened that loophole, so we know. Now we've seen some of the things that people do, and we actually know how to handle it.
Major Clark says no approval has been given for administering of third doses nor booster shots, and the mixing of vaccines is prohibited.
The dangers in doing that is that our medical committee has not approved any third dose or any booster shots. We can only give you shots, a first and second shot of the same vaccine. It has not been approved for us to give you mixed vaccines in Barbados at this point in time. If that changes, then we will let you know. But right now, we can only give people who got a first dose of AstraZeneca, we give them AstraZeneca. People who have a second dose of Pfizer, get Pfizer. And people with a first dose of Sinopharm, get Sinopharm.
Let's now go over to Haiti, where Crystal Hoyt is on the ground giving us updates on developments, where over 2,000 people are now reported dead from this month's earthquake.
I'm standing just outside of Leaks Medical Center, a hospital here in Haiti that has been completely destroyed following the earthquake on August 14th. It's just one of the many collapsed buildings in this community in Lakai. With over 10,000 injured, medical centers remain under pressure. Rosalie Maison, whose husband was among the injured, recounted her experience of the earthquake.
I was inside of the house with my husband and 2 children, and suddenly the earth started shaking. The house did collapse because it has 2 floors and everything is collapsed, unfortunately.
She adds that those few minutes were the most traumatic of her life, but she is glad her family is alive. Many Haitians are now sleeping outside of the buildings they once called home.
We're in trouble. We can't enter the building that you see here because it's collapsed. And last night we had a difficult time because it was raining, and as you can see, we are on the tents, so it's not good, that situation.
As of tonight, over 50,000 homes have been destroyed and close to 100,000 damaged. Reporting from Port-au-Prince, Haiti, Crystal Hoyt, CBC News.
The final American flight has left the Afghan capital Kabul, officially ending the U.S. 20-year war in Afghanistan after a chaotic evacuation effort. Midnight tonight will officially end America's military stay in Afghanistan, with the U.S. having evacuated 79,000 people from Kabul, including 6,000 American citizens, since August 14th, a day before the Taliban took control of the city.
Joe Biden is being briefed on a constant basis by his national security team. They're here at the White House. He's been kept up to date with the final hours of U.S. involvement in Afghanistan. There was that rocket attack, as you say. 3 of the rockets did not land in the airport perimeter. 1 did and caused no damage. The other was intercepted by the U.S. military's rocket detecting system and managed to knock it out of the sky. Clearly, everyone here in the United States, particularly at the White House and at the Pentagon, would really just like to wake up on Wednesday morning and find out that this operation is over. They've managed to get out as many people as they could, and that there has been no further loss of life, because undoubtedly the loss of 13 Marines on Thursday was a black day for the Biden presidency. So they would like to get the end of this process. Clearly they believe that they are doing all they can, but essentially what is happening now is what they call the retrograde. They're essentially moving out all military equipment and all the soldiers who've been there up until the last moment to get them out of the country by the deadline. What is interesting is that the US says, along with other countries around the world, they have an agreement with the Taliban that after August the 31st, people with the correct paperwork, like US citizens, US green card holders, those who've been given immigrant visas, and others from around the world, if they have the proper papers, then the Taliban will let them leave.
Hurricane Ida, which slammed into the U.S. Louisiana coast as a Category 4 hurricane, weakened into a tropical storm yesterday. More than 1 million people in Louisiana and Mississippi were without power.
The damage here is severe and it is very widespread. We've got sunrise here. We've got some sun so we can see what's happened. I want to show you some of the damage just behind us here. And you can see a roof that was pulled away from a building, thrown into this area of the French Quarter, and pulling down with it a street sign that had a traffic light attached to it. If you work up that twisted metal that was holding that sign up, you can see the balcony here, and the wind pulled away the shutters and pushed open doors, not only here, but across the entire French Quarter, across the entire New Orleans metro area. Windows have been shattered and blown out. If you look up on the balconies here, and you can see people along the balconies in some of these areas where the windows have been blown out. It is just a mess down here, and again, really across the entire region at this point. Power, one of the most severe problems. There is no power in the metro area of New Orleans at this point. More than 1 million people without power. And that's because of the transmission lines, 8 of those lines that bring the electricity into this city. They're in the Mississippi River right now. They've got to be extracted. They've got to be repaired. That's going to be a very difficult task, one that is sure to take quite some time.
Sports news now. The Hero Caribbean Premier League resumes today with a doubleheader. In the second fixture at 7 p.m., there will be a rematch between the Barbados Royals and the Jamaica Tallawahs, scheduled for Warner Park in St. Kitts. The Royals snapped a 2-game losing streak after the Tallawahs on Saturday, against the Tallawahs on Saturday, but we'll know that there's little room for complacency. Let's hear more from Damien Best. On the Trinbago Night Riders live on TV8. Time now for a look at the weather. It's 27.5 degrees on the outside. It's partly cloudy and slightly hazy. It's feeling like 30 degrees Celsius already. Relative humidity is 76%. The barometric pressure 11.3 millibars is where it stands, and those winds are not brisk at all, coming out of the east-southeast at 7 kilometers per hour. We'll get a high tide at 20 minutes to midday. The low tide will be around 5 minutes to 4 in the afternoon. Those seas are calm to smooth in open water. Swells are between 0.5 and 1 meter, but they're expected to increase. It will be fair to partly cloudy with a few brief isolated showers here in Barbados today. However, during the afternoon, you can expect some localized scattered showers and possible isolated thunderstorms. Those are likely over western, northwestern, and central districts. Tonight, it will be a bit clearer. You'll get a mix of clear skies and clouds with a few intermittent scattered light showers. Much of the same over the Lesser Antilles today. They'll get some moderate to heavy scattered showers during the afternoon. And tonight it will be fair to partly cloudy there with a few brief scattered light showers. And here is a quick look at some of our international cities with their international forecast. And that's it for this edition of the CBC Morning Report. I'm Shane Seeley. Morning Barbados starts now.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning.
Good morning, everyone. You're waking up to a beautiful day, Tuesday, August the 31st, 2021, in our neck of the woods, Barbados. I'm Pearson Bowen, welcoming you to Morning Barbados. Those of you watching us on your TV screens here on the island, or if you're watching us via all of our platforms across the world, grateful for your company today. Today, before the show is done, we'll talk a little bit in our childhood segment about mental illness in children. How do they cope? How do you spot the signs whether or not your little one is struggling with mental illness? We'll also be looking at our fitness as well when our fitness instructor Thornwood joins me here on the set of Morning Barbados, and we get to meet some of those Bajans afar, one in Vietnam, the other in Hawaii. But let's get started by taking a good look at the Errol and Nita Barrow Educational Trust. The upcoming awardees function is Thursday, and we're joined this morning by the chairman of the trust in Professor Avinash Prasad and a trustee, Christopher Harper. Good morning, both of you gentlemen.
Good morning, Pearson.
Thank you so much for joining us. Now, we know the names Errol and Nita Barrow, former Prime Minister, National Hero, the Right Excellent, former Governor General of Barbados. And we've heard there's a trust, an educational trust, but a lot of people seemingly do not know what is that educational trust, how it's constituted, and how one can benefit from that. So, Professor Prasad, could you give us the background and the constitution of the educational trust?
You know, our boys and girls know a lot about Errol Barrow, father of the nation, and his passion for education. And that passion was also exhibited by his sister, Dame Nita Barrow, one of our first Governor Generals, a pioneer in nursing education in the Caribbean and in women's education globally and for rights for women. And we thought the best way, I should say the original trustees, thought the best way to give memory to the two great Barbadians was to create an educational trust which enabled students to pursue an advanced degree in a specialism that will impact the development of our region and our country. And remember, both Dame Nita and Errol Barrow were great regionalists. And so this educational trust is not just for Barbadians, but also for Caribbean students. So a subject that will support the development of our region. And we've been doing that since 1991. We've given awards to over 150 students, mainly Barbadians, but some Caribbean people too. And we've probably given awards amounting to over $1 million Barbados dollars in that time. And when we speak to the alumni, and Chris is one of our alumni, it's not just the subject they studied, but the whole experience of studying an advanced subject, often abroad, that has been quite life transforming. And we invite people to come back to Barbados and the region to give us the benefit of that education.
A lot of what the region needs, though, is not just in terms of what we call the classic forms of education. Chris, is where you come in, because I know music was one of your passions. And as a trustee now, we've seen your face on this screen many times over, talking music and music development and moving the industry forward. I want to hear from your experience, so as a trustee one, and as a recipient of financial assistance through the Errol and Nita Barrow Educational Trust as well, the benefits that one can derive from this.
So, first, let me say it was an honor for me to receive that grant a long time ago, and it has really changed my life. It makes a difference as a student, as you know, overseas. Every little bit counts. But I think more importantly, what it really did for me was to instill this feeling of not only gratitude, but responsibility to be able to give that back, pay it forward to the next generation. Hence the reason why I decided to be a part of the organization and give my part going forward. It makes a wonderful difference in students' lives, and you know, the good thing about it looks at not just traditional forms of careers, but it looks at the alternative forms as well. And there are so many, like even this year, we have someone studying drama and movement therapy, which is not necessarily a traditional career. So it makes a wonderful difference, and I think it is great work that is being done, and I'm honored to be a part of it.
Professor Prasad, how does one then access this assistance from the trust fund?
I'd like just to say a couple of things to comment on Chris. Chris, I think, was the last man to win an award. I'm just joking. But we really need to get more boys applying, because today we have 4 outstanding Barbadian women who won our awards. They're enabling awards. You apply online, you type in Errol and Barrow Educational Trust, and up will come the application form. But I think this is symptomatic of a problem we have in Barbados and the region, that somehow women are taking their futures and their education seriously, their careers seriously, but men are somehow not excited enough to really pursue greater studies and for advancement. And the other thing that Chris talked about, people tend to lump public health and public education together. Both, in my view, need public funding, but both require different levels of choices. People are pretty good at educational choices. And we see people looking at what is good for them, but what's good for the region. As Chris was saying, we've got an amazing set of subjects people are studying here. One is in digital health, how to use all this information to improve the public health of the country, so relevant today. Another one is in public administration. We've seen with all these disasters how important public administration is. Another one is a specialist in disaster risk management. And then we've all experienced so many traumas in the past 2 years, whether it was the hurricane, the volcano, COVID. And so we have an outstanding Barbadian studying a subject on how to use drama and movement in helping to deal with some of these traumas and for therapy. So these are great subjects that they have chosen, we haven't chosen. And so the choice is so important.
Right. So the trust doesn't determine the areas of which you can apply. It just receives applications, and from there you process and you determine in which areas you want to lend that financial support. Is it as simple as that one, and is it as simple as going online and just completing a form and submitting, or do I write to a letter?
It's as simple as that. I would say that we do pay attention to whether we think, whether you've persuaded us that this subject is going to support the development of Barbados and the region, and that you're committed to that, to coming back and using this. So in your application, you fill out a form. You also write us a short letter talking a bit to us about those things. That's actually part of the application form, a paragraph. But it's as simple as that, and then we review that. We then have a long list. We invite the long list for an interview. We learn more about you, and then we select around 4 or 5 every year.
Chris, Professor Prasad said, there are few men who are stepping up to this and responding to the challenge to themselves educate themselves, want to educate the rest of us. What do you say to men watching today who are a little bit hesitant about stepping forward and say, this is an endeavor of which I want to pursue, and I therefore want the Educational Trust to assist me with this? What do you say?
Please apply. There are unlimited opportunities in the world there for everyone, and luckily we see a lot of women stepping up and taking these opportunities, which we applaud and is a great thing. But we also need, the men to play their part and really take advantage of opportunities that are out there for them to pursue. And the trust is here to support everyone, and we invite you to apply. The application process starts around June every year, and we've done a much better job in recent years of advertising that process, and we see every year, but more from every particular, more guys.
More guys indeed. So, Professor Prasad, you would have said to me just now in outlining some of the areas who are going to be awarded on Thursday, about 4 I think it is that you called. Are those all? And tell me a little bit about the event on Thursday.
So we are going to present the awards and the awardees. There are 4 people this year who won. Last year, because of COVID, we expanded the trust for the first time ever in our history to look at online courses, and we had 10 awards, so all of a smaller nature. And so we're very excited, and we're hoping to get all four either physically there or with COVID restrictions on Zoom. And we had a last, it's also a great occasion to bring back some of the alumni together and the trustees. Pearson, one thing I want to say is that, to help encourage the boys, education has become the new class system in the world today. People with qualifications are getting greater access and greater opportunities. It doesn't mean to say that's the only way to do it. You don't need a classic education in life to be successful. There are other ways to do it. But this has become a new class system, and access and opportunity is coming at a higher and higher price. When we started in 1991, our small grants could pay for your entire tuition fees. And now our grants are there, can help enable you, push you over the edge in getting your financing together. But education has become very, very expensive.
Can't underscore that enough. It's the new currency. I want to thank you. We're out of time. Thank you so much. The chairman of the Errol and Nita Barrow Educational Trust, Professor Avinash Prasad, trustee with the trust, Christopher Harper as well. Gentlemen, thank you. Much success going forward. I know the application process is complete now for the next, but in June next year, you'll have an opportunity, everybody, to start their mind going and to see in what areas you need this assistance and get your applications in as well. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pearson.
You're very welcome. Morning Barbados will continue right after this break.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We're 14 minutes to go to 7 o'clock now. As you just saw, we're going across the waters to meet a Bajan afar. This one finding herself in Hawaii. Her name is Sharon Lawton. Sharon, good morning to you.
Good morning, Pearson.
Good to see you. And how do you say good morning in Hawaiian? Good morning?
Aloha.
Whatever you just said. Now, you graduated from the University of the West Indies here with a degree and with honors in management studies. And now you're in Hawaii. How did you get there?
Oh, it was my husband's idea.
Mm-hmm.
And we met after I graduated university. I went to the island of St. Martin for a while, and that's where I met him. He's an American from Oregon, and it was his idea. He said, "Let's go to Hawaii. I promise you will like it. The weather is very similar to Barbados. And, you're going to be happy." And he was right.
Yes, wow. You now live on the island Mau, and help me understand all of us, because he said the island is very much like Barbados. So what are the similarities that you've detected since you've been living on Mau?
It's actually Maui is the island. And yes, Maui, and it's mostly the weather, I would say, and the small island feeling. Yeah, it's very similar to Barbados.
Mm-hmm.
You're always going to see somebody who you know and that sort of thing. And You know, beautiful sandy beaches, waterfalls. Well, Barbados doesn't have that many waterfalls, but Hawaii has beautiful waterfalls, tropical environment. It's a warm, serene, friendly place.
Do you have any regrets at all?
No, I mean, my only regret is being so far from mom and dad and my brother and my sister. But other than that, it was a fabulous idea. I'm happy we did it. And Maui has embraced me and made me feel like I belong here.
Well, that's great. Your mother is from St. Michael. Your father is from St. Lucie, which is my parish. What part of St. Lucie is he from?
He was born in a house right by St. Lucie Church.
Near to me, near enough to be for real. That's fantastic. And how often do you get a chance to talk to Bajans while you're there in Hawaii?
Well, only when I call home, catch up with my friends, that sort of thing. I don't think I've met a single Barbadian since I've been here. I've met some West Indians, which is awesome. Some people from Trinidad and so on, but nobody from Barbados.
Wow, one day soon. But you've traveled the world though, on your trek tours, Mai. You've traveled the world, you've visited Africa, Asia, Indonesia, Europe, you've backpacked. You are quite the traveler.
Yes, it's kind of in my blood. My mother worked for an airline most of her life, and from the time we were, probably before we could talk, we were on airplanes, going all over the place and traveling. And so I had it in my blood, and I love it. It's one of the things I truly enjoy.
Oh, girl, you're tempting me already to take that trek myself, to travel it as extensively as you have. How long have you been now there in Hawaii?
About 25 years.
That's a quarter century. That's a lifetime.
I know. Like I said, it's I'm comfortable. It feels like home. It's been a good experience for me.
I love the way you said it. It's been a good experience. And so, immersing yourself into the culture, I mean, how vastly different is it from the culture of Barbados?
It's a little, let's see, how do I say? There are a lot of similarities. That small island feeling, that community feeling, I really enjoy. But Hawaiians have this spiritual connection with the ocean and the mountains, and their connection with hula. It's like it reminds me sometimes of the American Indians, how everything flows and they feel it's all connected. And ohana, which is a word for family, is really important and crucial to the culture.
That's sweet. No, we've seen the dancing. We see those hips and those grass skirts moving. Can you do any of that?
I dabbled a bit, but my children are better because they do it in school. So the children can do it. I can, get by, but the children they know the meanings of the hand movements, and they can say the words with the hands. So the children are truly immersed in the Hawaiian culture.
That's sweet. Were they born there?
Yes. I have two girls, and they were both born here in Hawaii, in Maui.
What do you tell them about Barbados?
Let's see. When we used to get home every other year, but recently it hasn't worked out. So I don't really have to tell them much, really. They get to experience it for themselves. The few tidbits I give them is mainly I would say something like, my grandmother always told me the sea don't have no back door. But here, things like that, just little sayings.
Yes.
And it's interesting how in Barbados, I was raised with this sort of a fear of the ocean. But here, it's like the children are in the water before they can talk, walk. It is like, it's in their blood. I mean, and my children have turned out just like that. They're ocean lovers. I'm sure my husband has part to do with that. It's So I don't have to really tell them too much about the island, about
Yes.
Barbados, as I said. They experience it themselves.
So then let me turn that around. Knowing that they were born there and coming to Barbados, what do they now tell you about this place I call home?
Let's see. They love the food.
What's their favorite food?
They love the food. Let's see. Roti and pilau.
I thought it.
Oh,
I
and
thought
dates.
it. I thought it.
And dates. Roti, pilau, and dates. Those are their favorite things, and that's when we get there. Those are the things we always get off our list first, and sweet bread.
That's sweet bread. Can't go wrong with a Bajan sweet bread. So do you do any of that for them there in Hawaii? No, that's a no.
Well, here's the joke. Wait, here's the joke. I mean, I do, but unfortunately, I cannot compete with my mother. And once they know what my mother's food, pilau, or my mother's sweet bread, or any of that stuff, I just can't compete. But yes, I have done it for them.
You know your own strengths. That's the important thing. You know your strengths. You stick to it, indeed. That is really, really good.
Yes, they love Grand's food.
Oh, that's beautiful. Dress, though. Though you live just off the mainland North America, and, you know, how do Hawaiians dress? How different is the dress? Or is it as cosmopolitan as we always know it?
It's very casual. You know, business attire for us is an aloha shirt, which is basically a collared button-up shirt, usually with a Hawaiian floral pattern, and long pants for men. And for ladies, floral, something like what I'm wearing right now. That's pretty normal. There's a traditional dress called a muumuu, which a lot of people do wear. But business attire, you don't find too many people in suit and ties.
Yeah, after all, it's one of those hotter parts of North America. So
yes,
while you were there, you were engaged in the hotel industry, and now you're part of what? You're concierge, and but you're also just recently been accredited as a real estate agent.
Yes, I'm starting my business as a real estate agent here. I just got licensed in January. It's a complex process over here in the United States, so it took a while, but so I'm trying to get that business off the ground. I'm very excited about it. The real estate market here is soaring. It's just all over North America. It's there's lots of opportunity. But I have, like I said, been in the hotel industry. I worked for very high-end hotels, Four Seasons resorts for many years. It's where I got most of my knowledge and training on luxury products and exclusive offering exclusive items, etc.
You know, one of the other things we have in common is called COVID. How are you guys coping with that in Hawaii?
I think like most other countries, we had a really nice lull well, it started out, you know, it was very bad for everyone. And then we had a nice lull in the summer. And I got to come home. I was actually home in June for 3 weeks. And then I came back in about 2 weeks ago now. Yeah, we've had this terrible, terrible surge. And it's really overwhelming, the hospitals. It's a small island. I mean, it's not as small as Barbados, but it's a community hospital. It's not like a mainland style facility. You know, you know. So we're struggling with that right now. Tourism is a huge part of our business, and it's really a challenge to find the balance between opening up the island and keeping us all safe.
See, similar stories right here. How do you commute between islands, though? By air or sea?
By air. There is a ferry from my island to the little island of Lanai, but for the most part, it's all air. The main island, which is Oahu, it's about a 30-minute flight. So it's like bopping around the Caribbean. But you don't get to leave the country. It's all the same country.
So, yes. When you
so
meet
you don't need
people,
a passport.
When you meet people and they ask you, where are you from? what do you say?
Usually I start, I am the Caribbean, and then, some people, will ask a little bit further, and I say I'm from Barbados, and then everyone always thinks it's so exotic.
That is
They
beautiful.
think it's so exotic. So, and I think when I go home to Barbados and I tell people that I'm in Hawaii, they think that is exotic.
How do you feel about being a Barbadian? And where you don't see other Barbadians in a place called Hawaii. How do you feel?
Well, I connect with people on many different levels, and I'm proud to say that I'm from Barbados and explain to them where it is and what we have to offer. But I try to connect with everyone that I meet. And in my job, I meet people from all over the world. And you just find that human connection, and then everything else is good after that.
Oh, I love it. Sharon Lawton, it is our immense pleasure meeting you this morning there in Hawaii. Thank you so much for coming through to meet another Barbadian doing great things, a real estate agent, hotelier, all the way over there in Hawaii as well. And grateful for your sharing our experience with your girls as well and allowing them to experience what Barbados truly is. It means a lot to all of us. Thank you so very much. You want to say hi to Mommy and Daddy?
Hi, Mommy. Hi, Daddy. Hi, everyone.
Take care. Thank you so much for joining us.
Bye. Thank you. Aloha.
Aloha. Sharon Lawton joining us here from Hawaii. We're going to take a break right here. When we're back with more.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Time for that look at the news. Here is Shane Seeley.
Thank you, Pearson. Up to 70% of Barbadians are reportedly in favor of taking a COVID-19 vaccine. So says senior lecturer in epidemiology at the UWI Cave Hill, Dr. Natasha Sobers. She's been sharing and breaking down data contained in 2 surveys for the morning report.
Most of these surveys show that at least 50–60% of people are not hesitant, are ready to take the vaccine. And we haven't reached those numbers yet. So let's vaccinate all the people who want to get vaccinated. Some of these surveys show as much as 70% in Barbados want to get vaccinated. So let's focus on that and focus on getting the vaccines into vaccinations and into arms. And then we can sort of have focus groups and understandings for those people who are vaccine hesitant. But I think that these vaccine wars cause us to forget that we are fighting a common enemy. We're not fighting each other. Everybody started to think, oh, I'm against you and you're against me. And that's really not what it's about. We have a common enemy, and it's COVID-19. It's not you, it's not the vaccine. So we also need to throw away some of these ideas that somebody's out to get us, and actually start looking for the truth. So first, get the vaccines to become vaccinations and into arms, because there's still quite a few Barbadians who want it. Most of the surveys show that people are ready to have it.
And one of those surveys quoted by Dr. Sobers was done by CARPHA, the Caribbean Public Health Agency, on COVID-19 vaccine acceptance among active social media users in the Caribbean. Barbados, Curacao, Guyana, Jamaica, St. Lucia, and Trinidad and Tobago were cited in the findings. In the survey, there was a 74% acceptance of the COVID-19 vaccine, 15% were undecided, and non-acceptance accounted for 11%. Well, there's another study done in Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago by John Hopkins Center for Communication Programs. That one reported 72% of Jamaicans and 59% of people living in Trinidad and Tobago would not accept a COVID-19 vaccine if made available to them. In both of those countries, you would have seen the high level of vaccine hesitancy, as well as healthcare systems in both CARICOM states buckling under the severe pressure of increased cases, with many hospitals out of bed space. Dr. Sobers believes Barbados, like those countries, could very soon see a dramatic rise in hospitalizations linked to the current surge in COVID-19 cases here.
I think that if we see an increase in cases, even if we're managing to decrease the numbers of cases with our 35%, we're going to see an increase in number of hospitalizations. There's no doubt about it. As you rightly pointed out, 35% sounds good for the region, but it is nowhere near where we need to be. Remember, for a Delta, we're thinking to stop a real outbreak with Delta, we need 90%. Those are the numbers we're talking about, and we're at 35. So we definitely have a long way to go in terms of the vaccination, but the longest journey starts with a small step. So that's why we're thinking our next goal has to be 50%. We have to get to that 50% mark.
Meanwhile, a 44-year-old Barbadian man has lost the fight to COVID-19, bringing the death toll here in Barbados to 50. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Kenneth George has been speaking about it right here on CBC TV 8.
The Ministry of Health learned that we had a death in a 44-year-old male who was in Harrison's Point for about 17 days, was critically ill for about 9 to 10 days, and he was on the ventilator for a period of time. This is a very unfortunate situation, and obviously I would like to extend condolences to his family and his friends. This individual was unvaccinated, similar to the other individual who died the day before.
Meanwhile, there were 37 new cases of COVID-19, 16 males and 21 females. Of the 983 tests conducted by the Best Dos Santos Public Health Lab on Sunday, 9 were children under the age of 18. They make up the 292 people now in isolation. Since March last year, confirmed COVID-19 cases have reached 4,968. Meanwhile, the National Vaccination Program for COVID-19 has seen 108,702 people receive first doses of the COVID-19 vaccine. Additionally, 94,063 people, or 34.7% of the population, are fully vaccinated. And that's it for your 7 a.m. headline news. I'm Shane Seeley. It's back over to you, Pearson.
Shane, thank you. The time is now 7 minutes after 7 o'clock. We're going to take a break here. When we're back with our Crumbs question of the day.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We're very quickly approaching 9 minutes after 7 o'clock. Time for you to win right now when you give me a call on 228-5562 or 228-5563. Those are the only two numbers to call, 228-5562 or 228-5563, because it's time for you to win in our Crumbs question of the day. When you call, remember to listen to your telephone and not to your television. It's a simple question. You know the answer to this. Look at it. It's right there on your screen. So the question is, what must staff always be wearing in Crumbs Bakery? What is it that staff must always be wearing in Crumbs Bakery? Get on the phone. 228-5562 or 228-5563. This is going to go quickly. Something tells me you already know the answers. So what must staff always be wearing in Crumbs Bakery? 228-5562 or 228-5563. Good morning. Hello. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's time to rise and shine. I hope you're doing fine. 228-5562 or 228-5563. What must staff always be wearing in Crumbs Bakery? Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, what parish are you watching from?
St. James.
St. James. What's your answer?
A mask?
You can't go wrong with that, you know. But that's not what quite I'm looking for. I can't beat you on that one. I'm looking at it within the context of there not being a pandemic, for instance. What else can you say to me?
A hairnet.
Yes. See how simple that was?
Yeah.
A hairnet. And I agree with you, they should be wearing masks because we are all required, once we're within the proximity of others for sure, we should be wearing our masks. So stay on the line, Miss St. James. We'll take some further information from you. Hairnet is absolutely right. I thought I should give her the other option because she was right on the first two, masks. And let's see how we can do. So thank you so much, ma'am. Well done to you. Someone from Crumbs Bakery will be contacting you to make arrangements with you for the collection of your winnings from Crumbs Bakery for today's Crumbs question of the day. We're going to take a break right here. When we're back, we meet another Bajan afar.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Twelve and a half minutes after 7 o'clock now as we go to Vietnam. Would you imagine that, to meet this Bajan afar? Ayatoro Inkosein Hines. I said that fast because it's such a big word. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me today.
I cannot hear you. So Ayatoro Inkosein Hines is his name. He is in Vietnam, of all places. Can you say hi?
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me now?
There you are. I can hear you very well now. You're in Vietnam. Great. What time is it there?
Right now in Vietnam, it is 6:13 p.m.
p.m. We're 7:13 a.m. in Barbados. So welcome to my space. Now, explain your names to me. Ayatoro Inkosein.
Yes, it is Ayatoro Inkasani Hines.
Inkasani Hines. Do you have any idea of those are the origins?
Yes, so my name Ayatoro is actually from Nigeria, and it means peace on earth.
Okay. Now, you were born in Bermuda to Barbadian and Jamaican parents. Something tells me your mother is the Barbadian.
No, my father is the Bajan.
I'm getting everything wrong this morning. So what are you doing in Vietnam? How did you get to Vietnam?
So we came to Vietnam to teach English here as a language for.
So you're teaching English language as a primary school teacher in Vietnam. We're having a little bit of a challenge with the internet connection with you. But you started out by studying international relations and law. And, you know,
Yes.
how did you then foray into doing English teaching?
So after I studied international relations, I went on to work for a charity in England. And it was there that I started to use what I learned on my master's to help disadvantaged and vulnerable people in the UK. After working in the UK with disadvantaged and vulnerable people, it made me want to go to another country where I could use my experience to help others and in that country. And that's what led me to Vietnam.
What is it about you that triggered this part of your own compassion to want to help people who are disadvantaged?
Well, I think about me, that stems from my parents. My parents are both very religious, my father being a Baha'i and my mother a Christian. And I was brought up with the idea that all humans are on this earth to make the world a better place. And that has kind of stuck with me as I've gotten older. And that value and those values I learned from them has led to me wanting to help others in other countries.
So much so that you formed UPP or Up Global. What's that about?
Yes. Yes, so Up Global is a charity organization that provides opportunities for disadvantaged young people. We provide sporting and educational opportunities.
And so far, so good?
It has been a challenge at the moment because of COVID. Right now, we are currently in lockdown. And because of that, our projects are on hold. But prior to COVID, right now in Vietnam, we were running English classes as well as football sessions every week.
So how long have you been living now in Vietnam?
So I've been in Vietnam for just under a year and a half. So since February 2020 is when I arrived.
How has it been settling into the experience called Vietnam? How has that been?
It's been a challenge at times, definitely. The culture is very different to Bermuda's culture or Barbados culture or Jamaican culture. But the people are very welcoming here. The food is very good as well. And I have felt very welcomed here, I have to say.
You know, the stories we've all grown up hearing of Vietnam has always been that war-torn zone. You know, that's where war happens. Have you, in looking around, have you seen any emblems, symbols, anything at all that would suggest that that is a real story we've been hearing?
Well, we call it the Vietnam War, but here they call it the American War. It's been over now for quite some time, and Vietnam has really developed since then. It's actually one of the fastest developing countries since the war. But unfortunately, what has happened with that development is that as economics has rose in the country, it has created rising inequality. So what you do see is a big difference in the gap between poor and rich. And because of that, inequality is big in this country, which is why organizations like the one that I have started are needed to help those that are disadvantaged.
So how is that played out? How do you see that difference? You know, you can easily see the wealthy. How do you see the difference between the two groups?
Yeah, so when you are even walking on the street, some people, you can see their living conditions in some communities. The city I live in is in Ho Chi Minh City. You have really high-rise building and very big neighborhoods that have a lot of money inputted into them. But outside of the city, there is a lot of rural communities where people live in houses that aren't built very nice, and they basically live off the land. And this is because of the way that inequality is in that country, in this country.
I want to know at cost of living and let's compare some prices here now when you look at it, because having lived in Bermuda, knowing the Barbadian experience as well, you know what we pay for certain items. How does it compare with those similar items in Vietnam?
Oh, it's very, very cheap in comparison. The Vietnamese dong, as it's called, is, it's in the millions. So you may pay, I don't know, for my rent is around 9 million a month. So the difference in the currency is vast. But for example, I can get lunch on the street for about 60 cents US dollar, which is very cheap in comparison to Bermuda and Barbados.
You are so right. But understanding, just when you said 9 million, just the sound of the word million, it just sounds so surreal, so strange. Did you have to get accustomed to that, and did you have to go through all the conversions every single time till you became accustomed?
Definitely, I had to. It was very difficult at first. I was a millionaire. I became a millionaire overnight. So all of a sudden, I had $500,000 in my hand, or dong as it's called, and 50,000 and 20,000. So I really did struggle. And the people here really helped me out. They sometimes, in some cases, they'd actually take the money from me and, this is what you need, and give me back the rest.
Yes. That must have been something, I'm telling you. So, having grown up in Bermuda with a Barbadian father, what did he tell you about this island of ours?
Well, I understand that Barbados is where the majority of my family, half of my family is from. And the last time I visited Barbados was actually in 2008. So it's been some time since I was last in Barbados. But for me, Barbados is a very beautiful country. And I love the food as well. So for me, Barbados is just a beautiful place.
To come again, like real soon?
Definitely. I'm actually planning to come next year. I want to come next year for sure.
So what part of Barbados is your family located? Do you know?
Yes, so my family is from St. Lucie, Barbados, by Cave Hill, close to Pie Corner.
Look at life. That's where I'm from, St. Lucie, pretty near to Cave Hill, close to Pie Corner as well. And naturally, with the Hines last name, it figures. Do you know a lady by the name of Rhonda?
Yes, Rhonda Hines is my auntie. Hi, Aunt Rhonda. I'm sure she's watching today.
I'm sure she is. So we get all the connections very, very clear. Lovely lady indeed. It's been our tremendous pleasure really meeting with you today, Ayatollah. Living afar is not easy. And somehow you found yourself placed in Vietnam, but your passion for helping people is what keeps you very, very grounded in your love of Christ as well. So I really want to commend you as a young man in all that you're doing, and it's been our immense pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me today. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome. Thank you too for coming through. Ayatollah Nkosani Hines is his name. Enough words, but he's a Bajan afar in Vietnam. And we want to thank you, Rhonda Hines Graham, for introducing us to your nephew. It's 22.5 minutes after the hour. We're taking a break right here. When we come back, we're going to look at mental illness in children.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We're 24 minutes after 7 o'clock as we turn our attention now to our pediatric care with our favorite pediatrician, Dr. Gillian Birchwood. Dr. Birchwood, good morning to you.
Good morning, Pearson, and good morning, Barbados. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I am good.
Good. I'm going to ask you what you asked our director. Have you had your coffee yet?
I think everybody needs something to get started in the day.
Yes. We're looking today at mental illness in children. And I know for a lot of people we take pause because either we don't recognize it, we dismiss it, and our children as a consequence suffer, so we can't cope with it. So where do we start? What are some of the symptoms and what are some of the cases of mental illness that present to you as a pediatrician?
Yes, Pearson, you are so right. I think a lot of times people have the attitude towards children, what could you be worried about? What could you be depressed about? And they tend to be quite dismissive of symptoms of mental health problems in children. I think that what the entire world went through in the last year has opened people's eyes to the importance of mental health issues in adults. And I think that they have also become aware that this is something that affects children too. And if it's ignored, it gets worse as time goes by. So some of the more common mental health problems that we see in our pediatric offices would be things like depression, anxiety, especially over the last year or so. And I'm going to include ADHD, or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Although you may not necessarily think of it as a mental health challenge, it can be associated with mental health problems and trigger other mental health problems as well. So I think it's important to include it as well.
Give me a sense of the ages of these little ones who present to these challenges.
I think that we are seeing younger and younger children presenting with mental health challenges. Children from as young as 4 and 5 can be showing signs of anxiety, for example. And certainly things like attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, you can see children presenting or at least having the features very early on, even if we make the diagnosis later. So, parents tend to think, oh, maybe it's an older child who we're going to be seeing these signs and symptoms with. But often if you look closely, you will see the genesis of these problems in quite early childhood. So parents should not ignore their concerns or ignore their child's concerns, even if they think they're really quite young.
So let's look closely so we can spot those signs. So what do I look for that I should be able to pick up as a possible cue that something's going on here?
So I think I'll start probably with depression. And again, children with depression can smile and seem to be going on with their lives, and you don't realize there's a huge storm going on inside. So any change in the regular habits of children should prompt a parent to really sit and think about it and examine it more closely. For example, let's look at sleeping habits. If a child is depressed, they may sleep for a very long period of time, or they may have trouble going to sleep. They may have insomnia and be really restless. Eating habits can change. When people are depressed, when adults are depressed, they talk about, treating ourselves with food. Children can do the same thing. So they can either eat excessively, or sometimes their appetite will drop and they will actually lose weight. Another important area is, their school and their social life. If you find that they're withdrawing from their social life, they're no longer having interest in the things that they would have been doing all along, that can be a definite other red flag. And then substance abuse, because if as parents and caregivers we don't recognize the danger signs and these children are feeling rotten, you may find that they try to treat themselves and get involved in substance abuse. So substance abuse can be a red flag. And another thing that parents should notice is if your child suddenly becomes very irritable. Sometimes we dismiss it and say, oh, they're being a teenager. Yes. But sometimes they're being really irritable and grouchy because they don't know how to deal with the emotions that are going on inside. They don't know how to express them, and they can't find that safe person to express them with. So that's how, for example, depression may show up in children.
So there could be,
Go ahead.
So there can be external or internal causes for the state of mental illness that they find themselves in. So what can I do as a parent? You know, what can I do to really help my child?
Yes. The first thing is not to dismiss or ignore the signs and symptoms. And as I said, that happens very commonly in our society. You know, they say, they're just being naughty, or they're just being troublesome or difficult. They were always difficult. But maybe there's a reason they were always so difficult. And so the first step is not to ignore the signs and symptoms. The second step is to ask their teachers, ask their friends, ask people they interact with on a regular basis. Have you noticed a change in their behavior? Have they said anything that might perhaps clue you in? And then it's important to know that there may be underlying problems that you might need to explore. Have they gone through a traumatic event? Sometimes children will not be forthcoming with traumatic events that have happened. And this may actually be a trigger for some of the mental health problems and challenges that they can have. So find out if there's something going on behind. And then if you're not sure, you should definitely take them to see their doctor, because then they can explore in more detail. They can find out, they can do certain tests or screening tests. And if they do find that there's evidence of mental illness, they can then refer to a psychiatrist and or psychologist. And in some cases, medication would be needed, but not in all.
You know, sometimes our gut tells us a lot, and we see it and we want to ignore it simply because we don't want to deal with it. You know, we recognize right away the consequences and we just don't want to face it. But we need, as a parent and a caregiver, to be always mindful of what that stomach is telling you. There's something that is not quite right about this child. And that thing can be physical illness or mental illness. And in either case, check with your pediatrician, check with the child's doctor so that you get clarity on exactly what's going on. And I don't want to begin a dialogue right now, but I'm just saying that sometimes a child would answer you correctly when you ask, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. And all the while there's something going on within, and you turn your back to that because you heard what you wanted to hear. Yes, I'm fine. And you're saying this morning, don't turn your back on that.
Yes, parents, none of us want to hear that news. My child has depression, my child has anxiety and it's really serious, or my child has ADHD and they're being very, very different, troublesome. Nobody wants to hear that. But part of our duty as parents and caregivers is to look out for the best for our children. And if that means facing up to reality difficult, but in the long run, it's going to impact the outcome for your child. That it's really important to catch these things as quickly as possible, because help is available and they can emerge very successful from mental health challenges.
So we're talking treatment now, and there are different forms of treatment. I would hate to think, I myself would hate to think the child has to be on a course of medication, but sometimes that's what it needs.
Yes, that's not necessarily going to be the first line. And here is where we would work along with our psychiatry and psychology colleagues. So there are different forms of therapy that are available depending on the condition. So for example, a child with ADHD, the typical scenario when we think of ADHD is a little boy who's running all over the place like a bull in a china shop. Sometimes you need to have behavior therapy to help. But sometimes that alone is not enough, and they may still be disruptive. It might affect their academic performance. And in that case, then medication will be important. And the same thing for anxiety and depression. Sometimes there can be therapy like cognitive behavior therapy or group therapy. And again, if that is not enough, then medication may need to be a part of the child's life for some time. It doesn't mean that they will need to be on medication forever, but it is to help them to emerge to the point where they perhaps will no longer need the medication. And sometimes they need it at one point in their life, can come off of it, and might need it at another point in their lives. So I don't want parents to close their mind entirely to the possibility that medication may actually be a helpful part of the solution, but not the only solution for children who are having challenges.
And parent, caregiver, you're also a part of the solution too, because it's in your adjustment of yourself and your approach that can help to aid towards the betterment of the child as well. We're out of time, but I was watching your background, and if I was a child, I would have a ball in your space. Serious. Watching that monkey hang from the limb. That's all part of the treatment, right?
Yes, to help them to be distracted and not frightened.
I love it. It's really beautiful. Dr. Birchwood, thank you so much as usual for joining us this morning. My mental health feels so much better right now just watching your background for sure. But as always, it's critical as parents and caregivers that we pay close attention to our children's mental illness and mental health, because the healthier they are physically and mentally, the better they are to perform as well. So thank you, Dr. Birchwood, as always.
Thank you, Pearson. Have a great day.
You do too. Thank you so very much. Isn't she great? Our favorite pediatrician, Dr. Gillian Birchwood, here in our pediatric care segment. A break, and when we come back, we're looking at what you should know about home valuations.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
24 minutes now to go to 8 o'clock as we turn our attention to real estate with the real one, Agent Sharita. Good morning to you, Agent Sharita.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good. Can't complain.
Good. I'm excited about this subject today, what we should know about home valuations, because sometimes we can get it so wrong. The difference between price, cost, value, all of those things. So where do we start in this?
All right. Well, let's start by saying that a valuation is an unbiased view of what a property costs. And especially when it comes to sale transactions, this is the defining tool that can make or break a sale. So let's say, Pearson, you decide to buy my property for $2,000. You need to know, and you're getting financing, you need to have a valuer come out and inspect that property on behalf of the bank, because the bank wants to make sure they don't lend you any more than the value of that property. They need to know that if you miss your payments, they can scoop that property up and sell it and get back what they lent. So the valuation gives you an estimated value of what your property costs, and it's different from the sale price. So let's say we agree that the sale price of the property was $3,000, but the house came back in valued at $2,000. The bank is going to be like, no, I'm only giving you the $2,000.
Yeah.
And in most cases, remember, they often some banks give you 90% of that amount or 95% of that amount. So you're getting nowhere close to the $3,000 that we're asking for this house. So that's how valuations come into play.
But there are many factors that would influence the value of the particular property. For instance, I built my 2-story big able wall house, and then Sharita comes to park her wooden house just outside of my perimeter. Would a situation that affect the value of my property?
How dare you insult my wooden house, Pearson? But yes, unfortunately it would. The way valuations are conducted, valuers assess a number of things. So not just the house in itself and the caliber thereof, its conditions, characteristics, the state that it is in. If it's in a state of disrepair, obviously that impacts the price. But what is around it makes a big difference. So for example, I have a property listed that on its own is gorgeous, 3 stories, beautiful. The valuation on that property came in at about just under $900,000, but at the same time, the property outshines the neighborhood, right? So even though they have this valuation telling them it's worth $900,000, remember that was the valuation conducted on behalf of them, the seller. When a valuer comes out on behalf of the bank, remember, they're looking out for the interest of the bank. They want to make sure that that value that they assign to the property is relatively conservative. As I said, so that if the bank needs to foreclose on the property, they can quickly get it sold. So if you have all sorts of shakalakas around that diamond, it unfortunately will bring down the price overall that you may have perceived it was worth.
What about similar properties and comparing values as well? Would that impact on what is the value of my property?
Yes, one tool that valuers do use, and I always state this disclaimer, I am not a valuer. A valuer is a highly qualified individual. They actually went off and studied this. And whereas I, as a realtor, can look at the comparables, I can make assessments based on similar properties, valuers go way more into detail. They look at the square footage. They have a database that they can really dig into in depth in terms of the comparables. But yes, comparables do help. So let's say, for example, we're looking at selling a property in Christchurch and it's 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 1 story with a pool. My job is to quickly look around and see if I can find all similar properties in similar condition to guide you as to what's out there. And I did that recently for someone. I don't just put the price on you. I would tell you, well, in your area, I can see similar properties priced between $700,000 and $765,000. The one that's $765,000 has been on the market since 2015. It's probably not going anywhere anytime soon. And then I give you a guide so it helps you know how to set the price. Now, the thing with comparables, it really must be comparable. Because think about it. If I am looking at your 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house in countryside, St. John, that has, you know, traditional style chattel houses and so forth around it, as beautiful as that house is, guess what? When we look at a similar house on the West Coast now, chalk and cheese, that house might be $200,000 more. So comparable truly means that you have to look for all aspects that make it similar, especially location.
Now, I'm glad you came there because that's exactly where I wanted to go. And I thought, geez, I'll share it, but you're stealing my next question, which is location. A lot of times people think, okay, because I live here, this here has a particular value rather than over there, because over there is a little bit more diminished. That is not necessarily the case, is it? Location.
Well, sorry to break it to you, Pearson. It is the case. Location, location, location of primordial importance. So you might think that your location is fabulous because you've been living there the last 20 years and it is the best thing since sliced bread. However, from a buyer's perspective, locations are somewhat kind of ranked. There's a rank and file to locations, whether you want to, you know, acknowledge it or not. That is the reality, you know, and that is how valuers assess it. So as I said, you can have, you know, a beautiful property in, let's say, Bank Hall. But yet in Bank Hall, you might have a suburban looking area. And then in other aspects of Bank Hall, you might have a more village setting type area. If it is in the suburban area of Bank Hall, it might be comparable to a similar area in Grisette's or a similar area in near Hoyt's Village. So the location, yes, matters, but also what does that location look like? Because as we know in Barbados, there's so many aspects to a neighborhood that it all depends on where in the neighborhood it is and the caliber of that, of the surrounding environs.
You know, a lot of times too, we figure the value has to be the amount of money I put into the project. You know, so I might have spent 300,000. Look at you clutching your pearls. Talk to me now. You know where I'm going.
Oh, Pearson, this is the part that hurts me most because I have gone, perfect example, I've gone to a house, I can see that based on, once again, the comparables, I look at the land tax value, I get a sense of what similar properties have sold at. I can look at see that this house is around, let's say 500,000. But then the owner then hits me with, well, you know, I put in marble in the bathroom last year and we upgraded all the faucets to gold. We have chrome ones in the kitchen, and we've decided too that we have an infinity pool in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to tell him, dear sir, God bless you for all that work, but sadly, what is someone willing to sacrifice for your property?
Yes.
That is what dictates the market's value. So you may think that your property is now worth 750,000. Suppose I listen to you and we price it at that. 5 years later, the house is still here because no one is willing to sacrifice that amount for what you perceive it is worth. That's where a valuer really comes into play.
And that market value is going to be dependent on the demand in that market space as well for the property. Because yes, as you said, you've invested $1 million, but I'm only willing to pay you 500,000. And if everybody else is at that stage, you keep your $1 million property because we're not paying for that. And that's the whole point as well. So there's some things that we definitely need to be mindful of, you know, as it relates to value, cost, price, all of those things, location, a whole host of things really go in to us determining what is the true value of our property. Is it something that you would recommend to homeowners to engage with a realtor on periodically so that we keep abreast of where our true value of our property is?
Yeah. Now the reality is a valuation does cost several $100s, right? It is what it is. Now there's some clients out there who come out and say, I want to sell my home, I want to get a valuation. Sure, but I guide them that I can give you advice based on the comparables because a market value and what it sells at are also two different things. That's something to keep in mind that you might not want to hear. Now here's the bad news, Pearson, here's the bad news. In climates such as these, market values sometimes can mean nothing.
Yes, so true.
In climates such as these, a lot of properties are selling, you ready for this? Hang on, it's not my fault. Are selling closer to land tax value or just under.
Wow, it's a buyer's market.
That's a grim reality that you have to face. So a lot of sales now, now is not the time to sell if you want a mega profit. It is not happening. It is not happening. However, if you want to have your loss mitigation measures in place and stop the bleed, yes, consider selling. But keep in mind that a market value works well for the buyer who is buying the property because the bank needs to know the value of this property. But from a seller's perspective, keep in mind, and this is the struggle that has been going on, when you get that valuation, if you do choose to go that route as a seller, it is not necessarily going to dictate what you are going to get at the end of the transaction.
Word to the wise is enough, they say. And so if you want to get wisdom, call Agent Sharita. 233-8888. 233-8888. And, you know, get to know more about your home valuations and what you should be mindful of as you're going forward. And, of course, engage with her as a realtor all the time. She's there to help you as well. Real Estate Barbados 246 is where you can find her on social media as well. So, Agent Sharita, again, thank you for guiding us through this. And should God spare life, we'll be back again next Tuesday for another one of our real estate agent sessions.
See you.
See you. Agent Sharita there on Morning Barbados. All right, I'm going to shift from here because Thornwood is expecting me over there. We'll be right back after this break.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Books open your heart, your mind, and your soul. They are educational, entertaining, inspiring, and motivating. Are you an author of a recent book you want to share? Then Mornin Barbados would love to feature your book in our The Next Chapter segment. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb. That's morning without the G. Come and let us turn those pages together.
Asks, what makes
Alrighty then,
Barbados
hey.
so special? We at Mornin Barbados say it's you, our exceptional youth. You are talented, resilient, and inspirational. You are the epitome of the Barbadian spirit, testing the boundaries of your creativity. If you are an entrepreneur, artist, baker, designer, author, or have done anything you think should be highlighted, email us at morninbarbados@cbc.bb. Let us show the world our exceptional Bajan youth.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
All right, folks, we're 10 minutes now to go to the hour of 8 o'clock. As you can see, I'm in a different space, as I told you, and look who's here.
Morning, Pearson. We can just get straight into it this morning.
Sure.
So the first thing I want to talk about, this wasn't necessarily a question, but it's part of a conversation. I made a post that basically said, you don't get upset when you go to a store and purchase shoes and they don't fit. You just go and find another pair, right? So then why should you be upset when your shirt can't fit, when your dress can't fit? And someone messaged and they said, well, doesn't this contradict what you're trying to do as a personal trainer? I said, well, no. But I'll just say flat out no. My job is not to make you feel like terrible about yourself. My job is not to make you feel that should you make progress and you happen to lapse, you have like this whole like mental thing about it. Oh no, I just came 5 sizes down. I'm back up 2 and create some kind of anxiety. My job is to make you feel better about yourself as who you are, and to educate you and to teach you that okay, there are levels that you can reach, and should you fall back, that's fine. The issue only comes when you decide not to do anything about it.
Right.
So I just want to say that to anybody who you've made your fitness goals or and you may have fallen back. Don't worry about it. Don't stress about it. The beauty about that situation is that you have done it before. You've lost the weight before, so then you can do it again.
You can do something about it.
Exactly. Good. So we can do something about it this morning.
We can do something about it this morning. Yes, we shall.
It's a water bottle workout. So each of these exercises we're going to do for about. We got 9 minutes left. We're going to do for about 15
Stop looking
seconds.
at the clock. Just talk to me. Just talk to me.
15 seconds. So we started with jumping jacks first. We're going, yep. We're going to warm up 15. Let me go. 14, 15, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. So the first thing we're going to do like a low row complex. So we're going like a single arm row, single and double. So when you guys row, I'm going to turn to the side. I want you to hinge, so you're not arching your back. You're leaning with your chest, keeping your back flat, leaning forward. You're going to think about pulling towards your navel area. So Pearson, right now, you need to stand up.
Go up.
Roll your shoulders back.
Shoulders back.
Lean forward here with a straight back. Soften your knees. Bend your knees a little bit.
Bend my knees a bit.
Yeah, there you go. So you're going from here, from center, and back. So this curve right here, do you have in your back? You need to fix that, straighten your back here. There you go, that's better. 1, 2,
Why is there little people
3, 4, 5. Then you single arm. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next arm. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Now we're doing some front and lateral raises. So that's just really simple. Yeah, really simple. Raising arms up here for 5, and then out to the side for 5.
Okay.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. Go. 1, 2, 3.
Don't swing.
4. No swinging. 5. Out to the side. 1. Good. 2. This is a really super easy. 3 and 4 and 5. Low impact workout. If if you're still afraid to go to the gym, grab a couple water bottles. You're 250 ml, or if you're feeling if you're feeling challenging, you could grab a gallon bottle.
Or gas bottle.
Or gas bottle. Show what's going on. Now, one of my favorites that we're going to do is like a squat press. Really good for raising the heart rate and getting it into those fat burning levels in terms of BPM. So you're going to say as a squat. You need to stand up on the chair. Just to make
Stand up on the chair?
No, in front of the chair. In front of the chair. Right? You can touch the chair each time. Make sure your knees aren't buckling in or going too far outward. You want it to kind of be neutral and focusing on the squat area and sit the mat touching the chair. So what you're doing, you're going to squat down, curl up, and then press into the air above your head, and then come back the way that you came, and down, and squat. We can do 10 of these.
So join me.
Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Now, 1.
Curl.
Head. Down. 2. Curl. Don't look down, person. You gotta look ahead.
Okay.
Confidence. As we go. 3. The cheering anyway.
You're
Up.
Will I fall? My joke.
5. They never falling on TV.
Yes, there is.
All publicity is good publicity. 6. 7. Good.
You're doing well, man.
And 8. Looking good. Above the head. 9. And down. 10. Good. Nice. Take a little breath in now, yeah? Good, good. Okay.
Can we march in place?
That's what we can march in place to keep the body warm.
Yeah.
No, next what we're going to do is kind of like a single leg deadlift. So, holding it here, right? You can either try to lift your leg in the air, which is a little more difficult, or soften the back knee. You're aiming up, you're thinking about keeping the buttocks close to your shin, go as far as your hamstring will let you go, but keeping your back flat, and then pulling up. So right now, the same thing you're doing again, Pearson, is arching your back forward.
Yeah.
You got to keep that back straight.
Right, Pearson.
Lean forward. So 5 each leg. Lean forward down. Go 1, down.
Arch.
And you're taking your time and raise up. Down. Let's go 2. Same way we came and up. So really feel that stretch in your hamstring. 3. And up.
Man, when I can't watch in the office, it's your fault here.
And up. Next one, 5. Down and up. Changing legs.
Yes.
Right leg. Bend up back leg, soften it. Lean forward, straight back. Right, and go 1. And up. Do you feel that stretch? 2. 3. 4. How much you doing next leg? You do 20?
One more.
5.
Keep him honest.
Good. Now, to finish up, we can do some good old-fashioned calf raises. That's how we're going to turn out, front, and turn in. So turn it out first. We can 10. We shoot out 3, 2, 1. Up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You go ahead.
10.
7. Yeah. No 5. 8. 9. 10. Facing front. Let's go. 1, 2. Going up. 3, 4, 5. I hope y'all join us at home. 6.
I hope so too.
7, 8, 9, 10. Turning slightly. Let's go. Go hit all sides of the calf. Go 1 up. 2. Person gotta get you take toes. 3.
3. All right.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 again. Going back out. Go 10, 9, 7. That's the trick, right? You gotta call it when you're doing it. 5, 4. Trade secret. 3, 2, 1. Turn out slightly forward. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Working the calves. 3.
Yes.
No chicken steppers, but here. 2, 1. Turn out. Last set. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that is the end of this morning.
Jeez, Brett, listen.
Real easy. You guys, if these are not too challenging, these are small bottles. You can get bigger bottles. You can get dumbbells. That's a super easy workout. We'll go through it from top to bottom.
Yeah. That was fun, actually.
Yeah, straight
was
from the
quite
squat.
fun.
Squat down, curl up, press. That's the one we did. And the next one we did were front and lateral raises. So raising up front, and then out to the side. Then the next one was the row. So make sure not to curve your back rowing. Keep your back flat, straight. We went right arm, left arm, and then double. Think about pulling towards your navel. I like to aim slightly above my navel for, that's just my
other
my
reasons,
preference.
yes.
Right? And then good old-fashioned calf raises.
Right.
Work your calves, guys. Come on.
All right. So, folks, don't forget, Califit246 is his name. And, of course, you can send him at Gmail, Califit246. Any of your questions, queries, comments, everything like that, we'll discuss it right here on a Tuesday morning.
Right here on Tuesday morning. Same thing on Instagram and Facebook. Any questions you may have.
That's
Chris,
right.
Out of breath, guys.
Gotta go. Thank you so much for spending the time with us. We'll catch you tomorrow morning. Bye-bye. Oh. Those calves hurt.
Wake up,
They hurt.
wake up,
I would like
wake
to
up,
believe
wake
that.
up.
They do hurt.
Barbados, get up. Good morning.